future, and its name is Marco.
Welcome back, everybody, to Hoot Loot, a Hoot Entertainment production. Today is Good Friday, and it is 4/15/2022, and we have a lot to talk about today, and unfortunately, not a lot of good stuff to talk about, because today we are going to bury crypto. We're going to have a crypto funeral. The show is called Cryptocurrencies, Rest in Peace, and I come to bury them, not to praise them. And I'm going to tell you the real truth about them. We found out some things that are really damning about the whole crypto sector, which we're going to tell you. No one's telling you about this at all. And, we'd love for you to like and subscribe. And you can find the button right there. And we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. I have to talk about this because we've been asked about it an awful lot. I said last week we would call Dave's Inc. and try to get some color on whether they even knew what was going on. We found out some interesting things. We're going to tell you about them today. First of all, Wells Fargo. It is completely stonewalling everything. They don't investigate. They claim to investigate claims of fraud, but they don't, because I found out about Dave's Inc. in 30 minutes. It's taken them 4 months to find that out. And as a matter of fact, they haven't found that out. They haven't even attempted to contact him. I talked to a guy at the bank. He said, "Oh, my God, I can't believe that," when I described the situation and all the charges that occurred. And then he said, "Oh, I'll talk to my boss. We'll take care of you." They gave me "Oh, don't worry. We have a no fraud loss policy." I said, "Really? That's news to me." Anyway, he goes away for about 3 to 5 minutes, comes back and says, "I'm sorry, your case is closed, decline, nothing we can do about it." Okay? That's what he said to me. And I said to him, "You're on a recorded call too, and I've recorded all the calls. And believe you me, they will back me up." So, Wells, I want to remind you of a couple things, and this is something that any of you could experience, and hopefully you won't, but it could happen anywhere. Wells in particular has a horrible reputation because they have actually invented clients to bump up their earnings, okay? And they had crappy earnings when they came out, I think Friday or Thursday of last week. But in any event, they claim to have a no fraud loss policy. They clearly do not. And as a matter of fact, that's against the law, because Federal Reserve policy, there's a statute, it's Regulation E, and it's Section 205.6. Under that section, they violated the law. Pure and simple. I mean, it is plain as day. So, Wells, I'm coming for you, and I'm going to come for you with all guns blazing. You should have done the right thing and not stolen money. The guy actually said to me, and this is so ridiculous. He says, $7,000 is a lot of dollars. I said, "Well, gee, you're a $4 trillion bank. It's a lot more to you than it is to me. I mean, I barely have half of that. Maybe I have a little more than $2 trillion, but not much more. So it's far more to me than to them." Anyway, I hope all of you think about it and just move your money from that crummy bank. And I hate them. And why don't you give them a Bronx cheer? All right, thanks. Okay, good. So now we're going to talk about Dave's Inc., and this is another piece of work. All right, Dave's Inc. is backed by Mark Cuban. Okay, the reason it's called Dave's is because it's after Davy and Goliath. Okay, so he's the Davy, okay, and they've stolen my money. What does that make me? Okay, that makes me an ant or a cockroach or what? Dave's Inc., the whole purpose of it is ridiculous. Mark Cuban apparently had a lot of bounced checks and got fees for that, in his younger days. And so he wanted to establish a non-bank bank online that would cover you for overdraft. The problem is they cover you for overdraft by stealing from me. Okay, that's the problem. And they also don't have a phone number. They don't answer their phones. But I listed their office. And why don't you come down there with me, and we are going to pay them a visit, because that's the only way to get in touch with them that I know of. And they clearly have committed a crime. This is a felony. Their board of directors, of which Mark Cuban is one, would be personally liable under the E&O type of insurance. They do not protect you, a board member, from fraud or a felony or crime. They do not protect you. They protect you against honest mistakes, but there's nothing honest about this. Nothing honest. And they were already sued for class action lawsuit for breach of people's personal information. How they got mine, I don't know, because I never heard of them until all of a sudden they stole $7,000 from me. So we'll let you know more, because this is not going away. Okay, it is not going away. And trust me when I tell you this, I'm going to be a one-man rhinoceros going in there and demanding they give me my money back. Or what jury do you think would side with them versus me?
Nobody.
When I'm telling the truth and I have a full paper trail. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so let's go on to the regular charts. All right, we're on to Bitcoin as one of the canaries in the coal mine. We call it that because it tends to be a leading indicator, especially of the dumbest money possible. Okay, and that's why Bitcoin is very sensitive to speculative, dumb money. All right, now one of the things we found out about it, their website is now up, bitcoin.org. There is no management listed, okay? Basically, they survive by donations. You know, it's a nonprofit. .org is a nonprofit, 501c3 charitable organization. You cannot buy shares in it. It doesn't own anything. It has no assets. And the only reason it can even operate is because of the donations. And even then, it's very mysterious who these people are that are doing it. And I'll tell you, it's really interesting that, basically, it's still a nothing. It's still a password. And there are now apparently 19 million outstanding. It's supposed to be 21 million total, leaving 2 million left, okay, to be mined. You know, mining is the process by which you create new Bitcoins, out of thin air. And the thing is, we don't even know that there's 19 million out there, because there have been so many reports of theft, loss. You lose your password, you're SOL, you're completely screwed. And there may be a lot less than that. But that's not the issue. The issue is that because there are so many cryptos, that you don't have a limited supply that you believe is really limited. And I'll explain that as we go along here. Because Bitcoin may have a limited supply of its own, but there's an unlimited number of cryptos. There's something like 11,000 of them. It's not that hard to get in the crypto business and claim you're all great and cool and everything. So, Bitcoin is in a bear flag. My guess is that it's going to break down below that bear flag. It had a little bit of a bounce the other day, but that's about it. And, right now, this is something that, a lot of people I know think that the United States is going to hit with an electromagnetic pulse weapon. If we did, and we lost electricity, you lose everything. Think about it. All right? So, here we go. Tesla's the other canary in the coal mine. Another one. I just don't know what to say, because not only is it the Elon Musk show 24/7, but it's also, he also loves cryptos too. Okay, you can buy a Tesla with Dogecoin, which is a joke. Okay? It's a complete joke. It was never meant to be real, and people are still frothing over it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. No one has ever. I've never needed a crypto. I don't know anyone that has. Anyway, here's Tesla. Tesla now is running into the inevitable problem that we told you it would run into. Number one, it has a supply constraint, partly lithium for the batteries. Okay, China's in a lockdown. They have to recall a bunch of vehicles, and they got that. I should not say that, but Elon Musk this week. It wasn't about Tesla. It was about Twitter. And guess what he bid? 54.20. How did he come up with that number? He bid 420 before and said that Tesla was going to be pursuing a buyout of 420, to which he got sanctioned by the SEC, was told that he could not tweet without his in-house counsel's permission, because insider information, hello. And as a result, he's decided to buy Twitter. So he can now own Twitter, and therefore they can't tell him what to say on Twitter. And that's the kind of man he is. And you all love him, I know it. He's your hero. But he's also the biggest con man on planet Earth. Elon the Elon. And now he's claiming all kinds of stuff. The man claims everything. He's buying Twitter because of freedom of speech. And as I said last week, and I've said before, the last thing Elon Musk believes is in freedom of speech, because he sure as hell doesn't run his operation that way. But in any event, it did make a lower high than before, so it looks like it's turning around and about to go down. As we said last week, the bear market rally has come to an end, and lighten up, lighten up, lighten up, lighten up. You know, if you didn't do it already, lighten up. Arc Innovation is the holding company for the 100 coolest companies there ever are, and run by a hero named Kathy Wood, who was brilliant as this stock went up, and right now she's kind of backpedaling a little bit. Anyone that's bought this thing has pretty much lost money, and that's a weird thing about crypto. Everybody's making money, but I can show you that no one's making money. You know, it's like you're embarrassed to say that you're losing money in crypto because everybody else is saying they're making money. But they're looking at the same market you're looking at, and they're not making 2% a day, because that would come out to like $30 million a year if you put in $1,000, something like that. It's unreal. So Arc Innovation is another one that is a canary in a coal mine, probably no longer going to be a canary. It's going to be a dead parrot, as Monty Python would say. That is a dead parrot. That was a great story. I hope you like British humor, because it was pretty damn good. All right, so the final one that we just added is Government Sachs. And the reason we call it Government Sachs is because Goldman Sachs alumni go to the government, they become Secretary of Treasury, Federal Reserve, you name it, and vice versa. They come to Goldman Sachs when they've had all that government experience and become the CEO. So this is a very political connected firm, and a very good firm at what it does. Doesn't do so well for its clients, but it knows how to make money for itself, I can tell you that. It has now broken down from a very long, rounded top pattern. That is really bad news. And the next level of support is, quite a bit lower, 250. So it has some way to go, and a lot of stocks have that right now. There are very few that look like they're going up. It's almost all down looking. But we'll show you the precious metals, and hopefully it's still not too late to dip your toe in that water. Okay, we're going to show you that. There is a reason to be happy today, and we're going to ring the happy bell as soon as that comes up. But the Dow Jones Industrials, and here again is a big bear flag, and 3 successive lower highs and lower lows. And my guess is that it is now heading to a lower low still. All right, so that's 1 year, and this is a 5-year. 5 years a little more plain as to how broad this thing is and how it is actually broken down. As you can see, it has a long way to go down if it really does break, because there's not support until something like 20,000. So it's got a ways to go down, and it may not go down there in one fell swoop, but it's going to go down there or somewhere like that, and it may even overshoot on the downside, because the Fed, as we told you last week, cannot do a thing. They are so stuck. It's not funny. I wouldn't want Jay Powell's job if my life depended on it. Okay? Hi, Jay. I know you're watching because you don't know crap about economics. They want to subsidize gas, so that you have more money, but not producing more, not more goods, just more demand, more dollars. Good job, Jay. All right, Nasdaq 100. This actually rallied a lot stronger than I would have thought. And I put possible head and shoulders bottom because it looks like it. I'm going to guess it's not because everything's heading down, but it looks like it. That's what a head and shoulders bottom looks like. So I put possible head and shoulders bottom, but I'm going to tell you I highly doubt it because so much is heading down, and it already has started to viciously turn down. It really got smacked last week. The S&P 500 also, same kind of pattern, large cap stocks look like they're kind of in a head and shoulders bottom. Again, I'm going to say no. I rang the bell, as you recall. Nobody rings the bell at the market top, but ding, ding. And this one deserves a ding, ding if I ever saw one. Okay, and the Dow Jones Transportation Index. Now look at this. Is this not revealing or what? This is in a head and shoulders top, and a pretty damn nasty one. The last 2 weeks, transports have gotten clobbered. And the reason they've gotten clobbered is because, let's see, fuel prices are going up. There are constraints all over the place. What else? What else? So there's a lot going on here, and this is telling us that the economy is ready to turn down. I'm hearing all the time, oh yeah, we even have a recession in 2024. Yeah, we will. It'll be a continuation of one that starts this year. May have even started already, for all we know, because we don't know when they start until months after. The U.S. dollar is unbelievable right now, and as you can see, it is breaking out to new highs. It's crossed 100. It was at parity with the euro at 100. It's crossed 100. It hasn't been there in a long time. Again, I'm going to say this. U.S. interest rates, as crummy as they are much higher than the Bund, for example. The Bund. The Bund is at like 75 basis points, and the 10-year here is about at 285. Oh boy, 285. Inflation running 8.5%. Yeah, that's a good deal. All right. This is the U.S. dollar 20-year monthly. And again, you can see here that it's in a long, looks like a bull flag to me, and I think it could actually break out and zoom higher. Also, I got to ask the question here. There are rumors, because the Fed cannot pay, or this country cannot pay the debts. No way we can, okay? We have too big of a deficit. We have too much debt already accruing interest, and most of it is short-term, which means that is going to have to be refinanced. And that's why our average interest rate is so low. Once you refinance at like 2, 3, 4%, okay, now you're starting to talk about major interest expense. And as we said last week, might not get there because the economy is so weak. It's not going to take a whole lot to blow it over. It really won't. And the dollar is telling us something. There's going to be something. There's to be a new kind of currency program. And I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. I'm going to take some guesses at it next week and actually guess what it's going to be. I would not want to hold dollars right now, in dollars. Real estate, yes. Buy food if you have to, okay? At least you can eat food. And if the dollar ends up getting trashed, which it may, at least you have something tangible. The CRB index is the granddaddy of commodities, and it's breaking out again to new highs. This index has not risen this fast since I've been following it. And as you know, I'm as old as the hills, and that's a long damn time. That's a long damn time. I haven't seen anything like this in my life, and it's going to go up. And the worst part of it is, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Even though you're hearing, oh yeah, it's going to be transitory, it's going to be temporary. No, it's not. How is that possible when we're not producing more goods? Okay? Yeah, we print more dollars and we print more cryptos, okay? But we don't have the goods to buy with them. That's the problem. That's inflation. That's how you define it. And unless you actually incentivize production somehow, tax breaks, you name it, I don't care. Use regulations, something. But, as long as you curtail production, you're just kicking yourself right in the butt. All right, Invesco Agriculture Fund. Now, Joe Biden himself has talked about there being food shortages. If there's a war, there will be severe food shortages. And it's looking ever more likely by the day. And in World War II, there were food shortages and rationing and all that. In Britain, they had rationing of food because they needed to use resources for munitions, okay? So, unfortunately, we've got also another issue is fertilizer is in short supply, and it is believed that crops may be cut down as much as half, believe it or not. So, you better kind of tighten your belt here, and you're not going to get a lot of calories, I can tell you that. So, but have some food on hand. I think it's a really good idea because who knows what's going to happen here. Wartime has the most unpredictable and bad effects you could ever imagine, and unless I'm mistaken here, it appears to me like the United States and Biden want to get involved somehow. And Putin is in a position where he needs to save face, okay? He's already stayed in Ukraine longer than he intended. He's had much worse success than he intended. So he has two choices. He pulls out, looks like a fool, probably gets assassinated, or he becomes even more brutal. And that's what I think is going to happen. And NATO is doing itself no favors by tightening up and, basically shoring the defense. You're actually acting in a provocative manner. And, I'm not trying to be political about things, but that's how it looks like to me. And the point of the matter is it's going to affect everybody's food prices a lot. If you think food has gone up to this point, you ain't seen nothing yet. That's all I can tell you. I'd be getting your food. Okay, so, all right, we're on to corn. And corn is another staple. It's used in methanol, ethanol. It's used to supplement fuel, but it's not very clean burning at all. Number one, it's made in cornmeal and a bunch of other uses for it. And it's one of the crops that is most at risk, like wheat, most at risk for lower yields per acre because of the unavailability of not only fertilizer, but several components of it. And fertilizer right now is up 500% year over year. Potash is one of the key ingredients. It's way up. And you can't even get enough potash right now. And, we're going to have very low yields. And unfortunately, there's going to be a global food shortage. And it's going to affect everybody. That's just the sad fact of it. So we'll move on here to livestock. Livestock continue to move up. And even though we're not meat eaters anymore, it's still more expensive to raise cattle and raise pigs and do all that stuff. So livestock is going up, and whether people want to eat Beyond Meat or not, it's still expensive to eat the real thing. Crude oil is kind of interesting because, Russia recently announced that they're only going to accept to unfriendly nations, of which we are one. They would only accept gold or rubles for their oil. Okay. They have crummy oil. There's some tankers coming this way, probably 10 left. But after that, there's no more. And they depend on revenues from petroleum products to fund their military, and their production has actually gone down. It's actually gone down. They were number 2. They're now number 3. And their crude is really crappy crude. It's heavy. It's tar. It's sour, meaning it has a lot of sulfur. It's polluting. It needs a lot of refining. And they have also a gas pipeline, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But, one of the problems with crude oil is, again, professional politicians. Now they want to windfall profits tax. What does that mean? It means that as the price of oil goes up, the value of the assets they have in the ground go up as well. Okay, so all of a sudden you have 1 million barrels of oil in the ground. They go from 60 to 70, make $10 million. Of course, though, Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, a professional politician, would like a windfall profits tax because it's so unfair. And you know what? They also want to add more penalties to oil companies. Why would you want to increase production when that's happening? Why not incentivize an increased production and get production up? No, we can't have anybody making any money. It's so awful. You know what? What do you think? Vote out the incumbents. What do you say?
Yes! Yeah!
Damn right. We're going to throw the bums out and make America laugh again. And as a matter of fact, everybody loves this cool t-shirt that I'm wearing, Hood Entertainment. But wait till you see what's coming in really soon. It's going to be available within the next few weeks. And we're going to show you a picture of that right now. Okay, so now we're going to move on to natural gas. Now, natural gas is really an interesting story. I found out that the equivalent of natural gas to oil in terms of energy output, roughly 6 to 1, 6,000 cubic feet per barrel of oil. So as natural gas goes up to $7 domestically, that's still only $44 in barrel equivalents. So the problem that's going on is that the pipelines are all down. Okay, the pipelines are down, and the Keystone Pipeline was never approved, which it should have been, because these things would not be happening if it were. So we're tankering a bunch of it, sending it to Europe. Europe has cut off the Russians completely. They had a stranglehold on the on Europe basically, and they've shut down completely. The price of natural gas in Europe is $50 per 1,000 cubic feet. And that's equivalent to $300 a barrel of oil. How do you like them apples? That's kind of expensive. Can you imagine what gas prices must be over there? That's why they're bitching so much. You think it's bad that they're $6 here or whatever the hell they are? It's probably 25 or 30 there. Okay, deal with that. All right, so this is gasoline prices for 15 years. We've had this a couple of times, and the reason this is so important is because as gas prices go up, there's very little immediate reaction to the price increase. It's called inelasticity. You drive the same number of miles, you just eat the extra cost. And what that does, it makes you cut back expenditures elsewhere, okay, until you can find a good substitute. And that does not happen overnight, especially if you have price controls. And going back to the 70s again, in the Wayback Machine, the Wayback Machine, remember that? As a kid, the Wayback Machine, was a way to travel in time backwards, which we're doing right now. And there used to be gas lines. And if your birthday fell on an odd day, mine's the 29th, you went on an odd day. You could not go on an even day. And there were lines all over the place because people were hoarding gas, filling up their tanks, topping them up when they didn't have to. They didn't have to. And that caused a panic. And, we might have that panic in food too. And I don't want to incite it. I just want people to be prepared, okay, for whatever may happen, especially medicines, because who knows whether you have access to those if the worst should occur. Lumber is one of the few commodities that's not doing very well, and everything housing is not doing well. And housing is an incredibly important sector of the economy. And with lumber is going down because demand is going down, I think. And they're having other, again, supply constraint problems. Most of the home building CEOs will tell you that they can sell every house they have at full price, but they can't build enough houses to meet the demand. In other words, the population has grown by 50% in roughly 30 years, something like that, but the housing stock has not nearly kept up with that. And so now you have a huge demand for housing, and that's why prices keep going up. It's also a great hedge against the dollar going down and the reset, whatever shape it takes, the reset. And we're going to talk about the reset next week and how it might affect your life, as it will. It will affect everybody's life. Copper miners, they call them Dr. Copper because it's so sensitive to the economy, breaking out, looking good. It's in everything. Housing, electricity, EVs, which are all the rage, and the price of electricity is going sky high. Thank you very much to the administration for promoting an inefficient technology, which is not only not green, okay, but it also is going to put incredible pressure on the power plants and raise the price of electricity until it is equal to gasoline. That's what's going to happen. That's how a market works, okay? So there'll be no advantage to having an electric car in the near future, okay? Okay, so now into some fun stuff, and then we're going to ring the happy bell here for a minute because this is, see? Oh, God, that hurt my ears. Oh. Anyway, gold and silver we talked about last week, it's safe to go in the water. It is still safe to go in the water, okay? Silver 5 years weekly, right here we're looking at, it's in a extended bull flag. I believe it will break the 28 or 29 level ultimately and launch to a huge high, probably $50 at least on the next leg. I don't know exactly how high, but that sounds about right. Silver is in relatively short supply, and it has industrial uses and all that kind of stuff. So, there's a lot of reason to value companies that are mining things that are precious, including silver. All right, now if we look at a 1 year chart, and this is how it looked. It had a little spike, it had a little flag, it broke out. And silver, that's basically how indexes move, or stocks, or commodities. They move up, they consolidate. It's like a stair step, up, then sideways, then up, then sideways. That's how it works. You have to kind of endure the sideways and the boredom of the sideways. If you really think it's going up. If you don't, if it goes down on you, you got all these people that are underwater simultaneously and are going to be trying to sell ahead of you. So that's why it's really important to have an upside breakout and react to a downside breakout immediately because you have no gain to make. Honestly, no gain. And now gold. And gold is as good as gold, and we're going to ring the happy bell again because gold is so damn good. And, the 5-year, see, look at that. Ring of the smile. I'm smiling. All right. Oh, do I have tinnitus or something? Anyway, gold 5 years, it's just made a double top, which doesn't necessarily mean it's reversing. What it means is it's slowly creeping higher. You're seeing highs above highs, lows above lows, the beginning of an uptrend. And I think it's almost inevitable that we're going to see gold break through that high and probably go on to 2,600, 2,700, 3,000, who knows. This is 20 years monthly, and again, you see a nice parabolic move, followed by a very nice consolidation, which was a saucer bottom, so to speak. And now we had a little triangle, and we broke out, and that is picture perfect action to get in, okay? And we're going to show you some examples. Yo mama, gold, as I like to call it. Look at that. It is just flying away. We showed you this last week. It was probably $1 lower. Okay, if you bought on Monday, you probably made $1. And this one could go to who knows what, 10, 12, 15, I don't know. But remember, take your money off the table before the table takes your money off of you, and it's better to sell too early. Core mining is really interesting now. It is now broken out, and I mentioned that one last week also. I said, if it goes above 485, it's a buy. It went all the way to 527. So it's had a very good week, and it looks like it has a long way to go. And the reason I say that is this. I mean, this thing has got a bigger triangle, and it's got more of a consolidation, and this thing could really go to a much higher level, especially with higher silver prices. It could really happen. And your downside is a couple of bucks. And, you buy something like this, put a 50-cent stop limit down, you're out. You're down. No big deal. But it can go multiples, and that's why you want this. It's asymmetric risk-reward, reward versus risk, asymmetric, meaning that it's high on one side, limited on the other. And El Dorado Gold, and we mentioned this too. This one is another fantastic issue. And this is 1 year, and I'm going to show you 20. Look at that. That's about to break out of that pattern. And so even though it's broken out of the short-term patterns, El Dorado can go really high. I mean, it got all the way to 105 when gold was lower than it is now. Okay, so, there's going to be some speculative fever here. And fortunately, we have things like Bitcoin to take away all the dummies, that want to lose their money, because no one wants to buy gold. Too boring. But I'll tell you this, I'd rather have gold coins than dollar currency in a crisis situation. Gold will always be accepted. The dollar just may not. As a matter of fact, we have our own cryptocurrency right here, and this may be all the dollar's good for pretty soon. I'm actually going to throw this away. I can't stand looking at this thing. Oh, God. Oh, yeah! Sorry about that. Oh, God. Oh. My poor dog. Anyway, El Dorado's looking pretty good. Hecla Mining's another one we've mentioned from time to time. It's another silver company. It's broken out again. It's safe to get in the water. Hecla can go a lot higher. This is very early in the move. The move is likely to last several months. Okay? Not that there won't be sharp corrections that'll scare the crap out of you. They do. But in the long run, this is going to go higher. It has to. Gold is going to be a factor in the reset. Okay? Whether it's some kind of commodity or gold or silver or something, it's going to have to be backed. For the amount of gold to back dollars right now, it has to go to like $10,000. Just from that, okay? That's how undervalued it is. And right now, to really stem the decline of currencies, they're going to have to do something like that. And it's going to affect people in all kinds of weird ways. And I just don't know. We'll see. It's imminent, I think. Imminent meaning in the next couple of months. Wheaton Precious Metals is another silver company and a blue chip silver company. And look at that. Beautiful pattern, breaking out. And you can still buy that too. It's not too late to buy that. Wheaton could go up to $80, $90, $100. I mean, who thought that Bitcoin would go to 50,000 or 60,000 when it's a password with no use? Okay, so this can go a lot higher. 5-year Treasury yields. Now, is this not amazing? These are screaming higher, and they went up like 10 basis points a day last week, just about, the entire curve. And we mentioned last week that the curve was becoming inverted, meaning that the long end was yielding less than the short end, because the short end was pricing in Fed rate hikes. And, the Fed is talking about a terminal rate, or rate that the hikes will end, of about 3.5%. Now, with inflation at 8.5 now, the highest in 40 years, you're a little behind the curve. You're still going to be negative 5%. Okay, and the longer you stay negative, the more problems are created. Okay, you have to bite the bullet and take the pain for a change. People have to learn to deal with pain. You cannot insulate everybody against every bad thing that happens. You can't insulate everyone against every name that they say. Oh no, they're too sensitive. You can't say that. Come on, grow up. Okay, so now we'll look at the 10-year Treasury yields, and even though they've spiked up to about 2.8, again, with CPI running at 8.5 and probably going higher, you want the 10-year to yield more than the rate of inflation by like 1 or 2%. That means you're going to be raising rates like crazy for a long time, or you're going to have to do a reset because you cannot service that amount of debt. We do not have the resources to do it. So therefore, the amount of debt is going to take a haircut. This is what I think is going to happen. So that instead of $30 trillion, we'll have like $10 trillion. And if you hold one of these bonds, well, tough luck. Social Security holds most of them, so we all eat it, basically. So it's going to be ugly one way or another. Some people are going to get their asses scored. Some people will make money. Let's hope we pick it right and make money and not get killed by this. 30-year Treasuries also zooming up, and they've also are approaching 3%. And there's some steepening to the yield curve. In other words, the 30s have gone up. The 2s, the short end has not gone up nearly as much. And that's not going to matter because it did go negative, and there's somewhat of a lag. And as yield curves historically become steeper, the recession has begun from the inversion, in the process of inverting. And that's likely to happen here. We'll see. I'm not going to count it out, but I do think it's going to be sooner rather than later. And the fact of the matter is, all this optimism that inflation can be contained is just nothing but hooey. It's nothing but. That's all it's about, because you cannot service that debt. They're bankrupt. The United States is a AAA rated country that can't pay its debt. Okay? They can't pay its debt. You cannot pay the debt by running further deficits. That is professional politician thinking. Vote out all the incumbents. Make America laugh again. And we're going to laugh like hell when they're all voted out. That we're going to throw a hell of a party and kiss them goodbye. And get a real job, would you? For a change. Okay. Now I feel better. My shrink says I need to, meditate a little more, type of thing. Because every time I think about government expenditures, it occurs to me that I didn't get a stimulus check yet. Okay, I'm calm. All right, Bitcoin now. We're looking 5 years weekly. Okay, this is the future, people. This is the future. It's the next big thing. That's what all the commercials tell you. It's the next big thing. Now, do you believe that a commercial is going to tell you what the next big thing is? The next big thing is something that no one knows about and buys at the ground floor level, not when it's gone up by thousands of %. And then it's not the next big thing. It's the next big loss is what it is. And that's all I got to say about it. The Bitcoin is in a massive bear flag, and it's in even a smaller bear flag now. It will break that support line, I do believe, and go back down to the 20,000 level. 30,000 is another support. 20,000 is the next one. I pretty much believe that it is going to go down at least that low. unless the shit hits the fan and it goes to zero when people realize they've been had. Edward Snowden, who was the whistleblower that got in so much trouble, went to Russia, et cetera, he said this in an interview. Bitcoin is not anonymous. People think it's anonymous, but the elite do not find it anonymous. They have access to all the information you don't. Okay? It's not what you think it is. It's not instant riches. That's a myth. All right, so now Ethereum. I want to talk about Ethereum a little bit because I've done some research in it. And notice it looks exactly like Bitcoin. You know, bear flag. And Ethereum is a platform. Okay, it doesn't really. First of all, it's a .org. So again, you have no shareholders. You have no commerce of any kind. It accepts donations. All right, it accepts donations. And the Ether is its token. That's what you buy. And there's no limit on how many they can make. They have a limit of 18 million a year, but you can make an infinite number of Ethers. Okay, so why on earth would they trade for those kind of prices? It's a bus token, for Christ's sake. And unlimited supply. The whole myth of limited supply is out the window. All right? And that's Ether for you. So, be careful about this one. I'm not saying, it's something without value. But what I'm saying is that you aren't buying what you think you are buying. You are buying a token that they can make in unlimited quantities. All right? It is not like Bitcoin that supposedly is limited. And here's a 5-year chart, looks just like Bitcoin, and for a reason. Ethereum is a complement to Bitcoin, not a competitor of Bitcoin. That's why it trades like Bitcoin and goes up and down like Bitcoin and looks exactly the same because the two of them are intertwined. They do not compete. I don't know how you can compete with Bitcoin anyway. There's no one to compete with. This Satoshi guy still missing in action. Even though he's worth $40 billion, he still doesn't leave a footprint anywhere. The tax people can't find him. No one can find him. Oh my God. Is it possible he doesn't exist? I wonder. I have to think about that one. I don't know. Anyway, now these are the altcoins, okay? And this is where the funeral, it gets really sad because Litecoin is like a travesty. It does nothing. It's worth nothing. As Sergeant Schultz would say, it's worth nothing. Litecoin, which I'm calling Blitecoin, you can it can mint up to 84 million Litecoins. The same protocol as Bitcoin. It's a spin-off of Bitcoin, as a matter of fact. It's the same damn thing, except it's a little faster, and there's not a lot of it outstanding. There's not that much. There's no commerce in it. The only thing that Litecoin does is it acts as a currency. When's the last time you paid for something in Litecoin? That's what I want to know. I haven't. I've never heard of such a thing. And it's also a .org, and they sell the most ridiculous tchotchkes you've ever seen. T-shirts and mugs. I mean, we're going to sell those things too. But we know we're ridiculous, and we don't claim to be anything but. But these guys do. They claim to be a real business. They're not. It's a .org. They're begging for money, okay? And rumor has it, they nearly went bankrupt. I'm not sure how .org goes bankrupt exactly. I've never heard of that. But when you're basically using donations and you're down, okay? The Bitcoin, Litecoin spent a lot of its time down. And all of a sudden the interest goes away. You don't get the donations anymore. And no one there's taking a salary. They can't afford it. That's the future for you. All right, 5 years weekly. Look at that. Would you really want to own this? I mean, can you argue that this is a future? This is a future. Broke is the future for you if you think this is a future. All right? And same with all the other altcoins, including Cripple, as I call it. And it's in a bear flag. This is one that also sells a token. And I don't really know how many they can make, but it's just, it's like a pass for your money to move somewhere. There's so many ways to transfer money. I honestly don't know how this thing is going to have any value, a real material value. Bitcoin Cash, 5 years weekly. Now, again, look at that. It's another spin-off of Bitcoin. This entity doesn't even stay together. They have so many spin-offs. These are miners taking a chunk of the company and the customers with them and creating a new cryptocurrency, supposedly. And that was Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin and Bitcoin Diamond and Bitcoin this and Bitcoin that. There's about 20 of them out there. So how can you be a currency when you actually spin off parts of yourself? You own one Bitcoin. All of a sudden you own one Bitcoin Cash, one of this, one of that. And none of them actually have any value or any use. That's how it works. Bitwise, and I said this last week, are very dumb. Okay, now they're commercials, and I'm sorry to say I've seen them. Oh, we're cheering for Bitwise. It's the best thing ever. Is that the best thing ever you see down there? It's down like 70% from in the last year. And it's supposedly a fund of different cryptocurrencies. The future? You see the future here? I don't. Sorry, I just don't. Square D or Block, not only do they own Cash Crap, which is an entity which steals money too, just like Wells, just like Dave's, just like all of these cash transfer mechanisms. I don't know if Zelle having that problem, but just about every other one is riddled with security problems, and they encourage you to buy Bitcoin from them at a huge commission. Because you're not talking about people that put a lot of money in it. You're talking about people that put a few bucks in it and expect to be a millionaire in days without working one bit. They should be professional politicians because that's perfect requirement for that job. Do nothing, have no skills, and sit around all day. And, that would make a perfect politician, if you ask me. So this guy's in a bear flag. This is another Cathie Wood company. And I'm sorry, but Block, you're on the chopping block if you own Block. Blockchain is the most overrated technology there is. No company that's a blockchain company can brag about any kind of profits or anything like that. They've all hit the dust. Coinbase is a broker to the crypto sector, and this guy, again, the interest will go down and they will not have the volume to sustain themselves at some point. Because whether or not Bitcoin goes up in the future, it's going to have a period where it goes down and interest goes down. It's necessary in order for it to go up, is for it to lose interest among the masses. And then insiders can buy it, or people in the know can buy it at a low price. The people that aren't in the know, they buy it right at the top. And, there always is a greater fool. There's never one when you need one. And as the saying goes, fool and his money are soon parted. And speaking of which, where's my wallet? Have you seen my wallet? Well, anyway, it's got to be here somewhere. But anyway, that's Coinbase. Robinhood Markets, appropriately named, even though it's in a somewhat of a bullish pattern, they've robbed the poor to the tune of about 85%. It's the poor people who invest in Robinhood. Okay, they're not rich people. Rich people invest in gold through Goldman Sachs and places like that, not through Robinhood. The Greyscale Digital Large Cap Fund, again, another kind of an ETF type of, a bunch of cryptocurrencies. And look at that, minus 70% since September. You can't diversify your risk. They all go up together and all go down together. So, putting 10 of them is not going to help you very much. You might as well just own Bitcoin. If you're going to be that stupid, you might as well just own Bitcoin. Okay? MicroStrategies, here's another company I've talked about at length. The guy's name is Michael Saylor, who owns it, New in Town Saylor, as they say. And MicroStrategy decided to buy a Bitcoin holding company. Why, I don't know. But the man is in love with his Bitcoin. He sleeps with his Bitcoin. Well, he can't actually because it doesn't exist. But he dreams of sleeping with it, and he loves it so much he'll never sell it. Now, of course, he will have to, or a trustee will have to when they go bankrupt because they borrowed money to buy Bitcoin. The dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and that is grossly negligent, especially because he did no due diligence. If he'd done half of the due diligence, he'd know this was a fraud. Okay? He'd know it was a fraud. If he listened to one thing I said, he'd know it was a fraud. And if someone knows where he is, please contact him. Don't tell them I said it was a fraud, though. All right, Riot blockchain, I'd riot too. Look at that. Just plunging, bear flag. Everybody's lost money. Notice how everybody bought at the top? And we're making so much money in crypto. No, you're not. You're a lying sack of, you know what? Apple Inc. And this one has held up the best of all the mega caps on the Nasdaq. It's still kind of in a bull flag, or was, and it looks like it's broken down. I think it will. And I think it will because other companies are breaking down. Interest rates are going up. That will depress a company's multiple, like Apple. So even if it continues to deliver great profits, the PE goes down. You know, the discount rate goes up. And so as a result, it's worth a lot less. Amazon is still kind of hanging in there. And the important thing I want to say to you guys is that the major techs are about to release first quarter earnings this week and next week. Okay, Elon Musk, of course, 420. What else would he do? You know, 420, 420 for Twitter. You know, he just thumbs the SEC right in the face. And they're too cowardly to do anything about it because he is the great Elon Musk, the guy that's going to go to Mars. Yeah, right, Elon. All right, so Alphabet, it's about to break, it looks like, around the top. And we're seeing that all over. We're seeing rollovers of the major companies like this one. And it's going to split, whether it does or not. Doesn't matter. It's reversed. It's heading down. It's in a downtrend. It's in a reversed pattern. That's it. It's really going to take a long time for this thing to consolidate before it is ever able to move up again. Meta platforms. I don't even want to talk about meta platforms. You know, Mark Zuckerberg with his Zuck bucks. What a hypocrite. And it also tells you one thing, how easy it is to get in the crypto business. There's 11,000 of them out there. Last I heard, maybe 12 now. And that's not counting the ones that have gone bankrupt. They produce no GDP whatsoever. People leave their firms to go work in some crypto place. They don't know anything about it. And they produce no GDP at all. These are like government employees, basically, working at the post office. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And Mark Zuckerberg is trying to redeem himself now. You know, the whole metaverse thing is so ridiculous. You put on like some kind of glasses, and you're in a totally different environment, and you're basically hallucinating. You might as well take mushrooms. Unbelievable. As a matter of fact, I think Zuckerberg would be way better off if he was on mushrooms. But who am I to say? All right, Microsoft, same thing. Rounded top reversal, good company, delivering great earnings, and it's just going to have to come down a little bit. It's gone way the hell up. I mean, it's gone way up in 5 years. It's really got a full price, and it's very likely that it's just going to have to, you know, work that excess off. Netflix still half price sale. You know, look at that. It hasn't been able to bounce. It's going to have earnings. Maybe it bounces. Maybe it doesn't. They're losing subscribers. So it's just not looking good for the near term. And they need content. And I know exactly where they get the best content. Right here at Outlook. So Netflix, if you're listening, we will double your ratings. Guaranteed. All right. NVIDIA is the chip of gamers and the chip of crypto, which is why it went up so high. Because with crypto, the industry that is going to boom and is the future. And it's not going to be the future. In 20 years, no one's going to even know about crypto. Okay? No one's going to care. They're going to look back on it and go, those idiots that bought it, what were they thinking? Or as they would say in the South, bless his heart, which also means what an idiot when translated into regular English. All right. So we're going to go on here to the airline index, and these are some transportation companies. As we mentioned before, transportation is really ominous. It looks really bad, and it's got all kinds of challenges, including higher prices, bottlenecks, supply constraints, and the airline index is just, I can't believe it's even at that level, because the airlines right now are not occupied. They're still, I think the mask law still applies. And who the hell wants to get a colonoscopy at the TSA, a body cavity search, and then have the stewardesses give you a bunch of crap? You know, they don't want to go to a Mile High Club, which they should, because if I was a woman, that'd be all over me. But they're not, apparently. Go figure. All right. Let's see. J.B. Hunt is a trucking company, and look at the dive it just took. I mean, truckers are really having a hard time. There's a major strike in Canada, and the authoritarian government, known as the Liberal government, have you ever noticed liberals do not like liberty? They don't, because Pierre Trudeau is a liberal, and he basically acted as a big dictator, put people in camps, believe it or not. You know, as Ronald Reagan said once, fascism will come across in this country cloaked in liberalism. And guess what? He was dead on. Ryder Systems rents trucks and things like that, U-Hauls and things for moving, and that also is broken out of a Head and Shoulder stop. Again, ominous company, ominous looking chart. FedEx, look at that, ominous looking chart too, breaking down, and they're saying that they're not getting any volume increases, it's all price increases. And the other interesting thing too is that when the CPI was up, wages are down. Wages are down. Believe it or not, wages are down. I don't know how the hell that's happening, but they are. Wages are down. UPS is another one, and again, it's just falling off a cliff. Very ominous looking chart. The bank index, which is very important, is also looking like it's breaking down too, and it's been in a bear kind of flag or ascending wedge, depending on how you want to draw it. But everything in that sector is heading down in unison. That's why the market is coming down. We're about to start a new leg down, a new bear market leg down. Get used to it. Bear market, bear market, bear market. And Jim Cramer may not like to say that because he's on TV and he has to encourage people to buy overvalued stocks. Okay? That's how they get paid. I don't get paid anything except the satisfaction of telling the truth and for everyone's benefit, including mine, because I'm a little crazy. Too much cable news, And American Express, credit card company, Dow component, bear flag, looks like it's also turning down. We'll see. I would bet it does, though. Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, is doing incredibly well. He's the man right now. He's avoided crypto. He's taken a bunch of criticism, and he made a great purchase of Hewlett Packard, which drove the stock crazy. And right now, he's invested. He's not in banks. He sold all his banks, including that crummy Wells Fargo. He got out of it completely. And let's hear a round of applause for that, because Wells deserves it. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so anyway, Warren Buffett has done a great job, and you cannot fault him for the success he's had. Look at that chart. That's the best looking chart there is right now. Unless the precious metals, of course. JP Morgan also broke down. Dow component, the biggest bank, it broke down. And that is pulling down everything with it. That's financial. Costco, on the other hand, is rallying. It's rallying because bulk places are earning more money. And, for example, because Costco sells in bulk, they get lower prices. You have to buy more, but you get lower prices. And the quality of Costco is pretty good. So it's done remarkably well. It is the most highest priced Dow component there is. And right now it has a great impact on the Dow. Home Depot, anything home building is in the toilet, okay? Whether they carry toilets or not, they're in the toilet. And Home Depot has just been getting slaughtered. And you can see it right there. Big difference between that and Costco. And it's because of the housing. Housing, whether it's Lowe's or Home Depot, whatever. If it's housing, it definitely is getting beaten up to death. Appliance companies are getting beaten to death, like Whirlpool's getting beaten to death. Anything having to do with purchasing a new home. Target has a little bit of bulkness to it. It's had a little bit of a rally. I'm not going to say that this is going to hit a new high. I don't think so. I think it's going to have a little bit of a rally, but it's not quite a bulk place the way that Costco and Walmart are. Walmart has Sam's Club, and that's sort of the next one here, and it's broken out to a new high. So you have Costco, Walmart, two Dow components, brand new high. And that's because they can buy cheap, And basically, they're just going to drive everybody else out of business. Simple as that. And they've done it already. And these bulk clubs are doing terrifically. They're the place to go. And last but not least, we talked about cannabis last week. It's not quite set up yet, okay? But it will get us high next week when we talk about it a little bit more. And everybody must get stoned, including Elon Musk. Canopy growth is actually broken out. It is really cheap by historical standards. It's like 2% of its all-time high. And it's 30% owned by Constellation Brands. So it's got a big brother and good shareholders. I think this one has tremendous potential, and I anticipate that federal law will allow the decriminalization of marijuana eventually, probably sooner rather than later, and that's going to allow companies like this to take the hell off. Okay, so this is a good company to look at. And I've had a great time with y'all today, and if you would like and subscribe, remember, vote out the incumbents, make America laugh again. Come to this station to be informed, be amused, but never be misled. And don't watch cable news or do it at your own peril. It may be hazardous to your health. With that, we'll see you next week.